Hello everyone, Dan Tortora here at Chick-fil-A Cicero on 7916 Brewerton Rd in Cicero, New York for another edition of The Light Between Us, our exclusive segment with Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay. I am honored to be here with my special guest today, Elijah Hudgins.
Hello.
Elijah, thank you so much for being with us
Thanks
today.
for having me.
Appreciate it. And we're going to learn about Elijah's story. So, you're 19.
Mm-hmm.
You and I were just talking off the air about something I think is really awesome. You want to be a fiction writer someday.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about how this all came about.
Well, so from a young age, I've always been a very vigorous reader. I can't even remember the first time that I walked into a library, but ever since I did, whenever that was, that would have been the Mexico School District Library. I've always just had a passion for reading. And at some point, that passion for reading became a passion for creating my own stories. And then, as a believer, a lot of that it's kind of been intertwined. Where a lot of my beliefs, obviously, what you believe in is what you're going to write about. Just because it's impossible to write things that like don't have you behind them. And so I've always wanted to be a reader and a writer. Sorry, and just make stories that are compelling and, you know, show my beliefs in them.
And I second what you said. I mean, you can't really do anything you don't believe in, right? Mm-hmm. And eventually who you are is going to bleed into whatever you do. Whether you're a janitor or you're owning a restaurant, you're a writer, you're a broadcaster, you will always come out. Mm-hmm. So when you're doing this, what you hope to do, writing fiction, but also writing about your love for the Lord, how do you bond that together? And have you started to create a style? Have you worked on anything? Have you kind of given yourself a little, you know, dip the toe in the water, so to speak, yet?
So I've definitely written a lot. None of it that I would ever show anybody.
Okay.
That's why I'm going to college. I'm going for creative writing right now, and then maybe picking something up later. But I'm still working on my style. I'm still kind of developing myself, seeing, you know, who I want to be as a writer, what style, what
I'm drinking the mango, I can't help it.
Good. No, feel free. What genre I want to fit into, so still working that out, but I definitely have some work under my belt.
So like you said, you're going for creative writing, you're going to, you know, give yourself the opportunity to learn some of the intricacies of writing. What about taking a pen to a piece of paper? Why does that energize you? Why does it invigorate you? Why is it fun? What's the beauty of the pen to the paper for you?
That's a great question. I feel like with writing, people sometimes they'll listen better in writing. Whether that's because you're writing through allegory and just the themes that are present throughout, but sometimes just having conversation with people, at least I feel, sometimes it's a little bit harder to get past those barriers. Yeah. But I feel like with writing, they're more willing, because it's not really they're not expecting any pushback against themselves, because they're just reading something. Yeah. And so I feel like a lot of the time you can kind of show a lot without maybe getting them too pushed away from it, if that makes sense.
So that essentially what you're saying is somebody reading something, they can maybe be more open to a difference of opinion than if they're having a conversation. Yeah,
it's definitely true in some circumstances. Obviously, people are different. People are going to interpret things differently.
But I feel like you learn through reading, right? You learn different words, you expand your vocabulary, you learn different thoughts, techniques, and styles and whatnot. Is there anybody that has inspired you?
I mean, there's been a countless list of people that have inspired me. I've always been a big fan of Star Wars. That's big thing that's always made me want to create my own stuff, because I love that world and I love all the things that were created in that.
Do you read the books?
I've read some of the books.
Okay.
I personally just like watching the movies because they're amazing. But
the new ones, the old ones.
Next question.
That's for a different day, right?
That's for a different day.
We're gonna rank episodes 1 through 9. So
no, we'll be here all day. It'll be longer.
I'm guessing 4, 5, and 6 are gonna be at the top.
I think they're better movies, but actually I like the prequels more because those are what I grew up with. So I kind of have I have a bias. I know they're not better.
Do you like Jar Jar Binks?
I thought he was okay.
Let me ask you a question that somebody did this very deep dive, and we actually do a show in Dan Tortora Broadcast Media called Superpowered Pop, where we dive into exactly what you and I are talking about right now. We get into Star Wars, Marvel, DC, all that. There was someone who took a deep take that I don't think was all too crazy, that Jar Jar Binks was actually meant to be a Sith Lord.
I've totally seen that theory before, honestly.
And when you watch
it's compelling, yeah.
If you watch it again, you really are like, why is he asking all these questions? He asks these very unique questions, and he's constantly wanting information. And so it's one thing, why is he asking all these questions, and why does he need to know everything? And then outside of that, if you see the way that he reacts to how they answer his questions, you can tell on his face that there's something quizzical, different. There's something menacing about it. Like, you think it's crazy, and then you go back and watch, and you're like, maybe it was right. And then I think that they said that George Lucas had planned that he was actually supposed, Jar Jar Binks, before the character was so wildly not liked.
There was definitely, I remember there was an interview he had where he said like Jar Jar is the key to all of this.
Yeah.
But then obviously that ended up not panning out. So I think there definitely was something underlying.
He also jumped, I think it was something like he jumped a lot higher than everyone that was in, you know, his species, and he just had different things. But go back and watch it, look at how he reacts, and I'm like, oh, that man is evil.
Yeah, if you think about it, he's actually the one that like suggested giving emergency powers to the Chancellor, which seems like kind of something that somebody who's not supposed to be like very high intellectual, they want to have that idea.
Right.
So
everybody thought he was just like this annoying, dumb species.
But it was all an act.
It was all an act. It was Jar Jar the whole time. So it's crazy. So what brought you to Chick-fil-A? How'd you end up here?
That's actually a good question. I don't even remember if I remember. I mean, I've been a fan of Chick-fil-A for a while. I mean, their food, amazing.
Yeah.
Even before we had one up here in my area, we go on vacation every year down south, and you know they're every street down there, and so you know I'd eat it down a lot there. And I'm trying to think though. I think I was just looking for a job, and I was trying to like think of like where's a place that both I would think that I could grow at and like have like a decent time at, and then also like one that would fit like my beliefs.
Yeah.
And then really the only thing that fit those was Chick-fil-A here, because I mean they're, you know, a Christian company, I'm Christian, and they're all about, you know, hustle and you know, like having fun while working, you know.
Speaking with Betty Szatkowski, she said something about just your like ferociousness, that you're just constantly, you're just giving effort and energy and enthusiasm, you don't stop. Where does that come from?
Probably comes from my parents, honestly. They've always been very, you know, work hard. If you're gonna work, you might as well. So
yeah. Do you get energized by being here when you come in to Chick-fil-A, when you're in a place that welcomes your faith and welcomes a strong work ethic? Do you feel like you really have to think about what you're doing, or do you just kind of fit it because of who you are?
It's just like that. Just I come in here and I know exactly what to do.
Working with Jimmer, having him as a leader, what's that been like?
It's been great. It's really good to have somebody that like, you know, has a lot of the same beliefs you do and is able to lead you and guide you, not just as like a person, but also as a believer.
And not just in word, but in deed. He has always found a way to go the extra mile. A lot of people say they're going to do things. Some people actually do the things they say they're going to do. When you see him put into action his beliefs, what does that mean to you as somebody who is working with him and working for him?
I think it's a really good example. I think it's really important that like who you work for shows the same things that they're asking of you. Like, I feel like they should never ask something of you that they wouldn't be willing to do themselves, and I know wholeheartedly that he would be willing to do everything that he asks us to do, and even more.
So your faith that you came in here with, how would you describe God in your life? Who is God to you?
I'd say he's the most important thing in my life. Everything that I do, I try to base off my Christian faith, because it's, like I said, the most important thing to me.
How do you live it every day? How do you show people God? How do you not just show Elijah, but show an extension of, this is my maker, this is who I came from, this is who I serve? How do you show that?
That's a good question. Just a lot with like the way I act and the way I speak. You know, you want, I think it says in the Bible, like you want to like stand out, you want to be different, you want people to ask like, what's different about him? Why does he stand out?
So you feel like to stand out, to put it out there in a world where it increasingly feels like Christians are maybe being quieted or not appreciated as much. Do you ever fear walking out and saying, I believe in God?
No, I used to when I was younger, but there was a certain time where it came to just like, either I'm gonna believe and I'm gonna tell everybody, or like I'm just not. And I picked the first one because that made more sense to me.
When you were at that crossroads, what put you at that crossroad and why did you pick God?
What put me at that crossroad? Well, I had been going to church like basically since I was born, and for a while there it was just more like, you know, the situation where like it's your parents' faith because they bring you to church.
Yeah.
But there just came a certain time where like I had to either make it my own or just accept that like it wasn't mine. But it always was mine, if that makes sense. I just hadn't really thought about it yet. I hadn't really made that decision.
Why did you say yes to God? Why did you choose to follow God?
Because without God, I would have like no purpose, no meaning in life. There would just be nothing, really.
When somebody says God's not real, you're believing in a fake guy in a chair, how do you respond to that?
I would say it depends on the person. I feel like some people are just there for an argument sometimes, and sometimes it's better to just kind of like defend yourself but not get into a heated argument, because that's all they really want, is just an argument. And so it'll depend, but usually if it's just somebody who like isn't really looking for an argument, somebody who's just like maybe genuinely just trying to have a conversation, I'll usually point them, like there's a lot of like historical evidence for Christianity and like the resurrection and stuff. Like there's this one famous novel that I read, what is it called? Oh, A Case for Christ, where it's about an atheist who is trying to disprove Christ's existence, but through researching and collecting notes about all of like those historical events, like he can't deny it anymore, because like there's so much historical, like there's just so much that like it has to be real. Otherwise, I mean, hundreds of people are just making it up, which seems unlikely.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, you go to history, you look at different things, you look at different pieces. How do you know, like you said, when you're having a conversation with somebody, and some people just want to be argumentative, some people really are wondering. I tell people it's like it's in there. I know it, and I've never not known it. Mm-hmm. How do you feel that when you wake up in the morning? Do you feel like, you know, if the sun's on my face, he put it there. Mm-hmm. If the rain's happening today, it's because I'm supposed to grow. Like, do you feel that he's there? Do you feel him in your chest when you're going about your life?
Yes, definitely.
And how does that come out? Like, how do people kind of see that in you? How do you display that when you're at work, when you're at home, when you're writing?
It's a good question, actually. You want to just repeat it? Just
yeah, just how you display, how you show God when you're working, when you're at home.
Again, like I said before, it's a lot with like how I act and how I talk. I usually make it I try to make it clear to people that I'm a Christian, especially if they're curious and they ask. Yeah. But more often, like I just try to like show, you know, Christ's, like the examples that he set, like kindness and like all those things that he went. Sorry, I'm getting a little stumble on my words. I'm trying to like show Christ likeness in the way I act and just the way that I approach people and how I appear to everybody around me.
Do you feel like working in this community and this team membership of Chick-fil-A that you get to have those Christ-like moments where you can show it to somebody in such a simple way that maybe can help them with their day, that it really is more than a chicken sandwich?
Mm-hmm. I feel like a big thing is like just being understanding. Like a lot of times, like people honestly just be surprised that like you just be like, yeah, of course I understand, and you just help them with the issue that they're having. because I feel like a lot of places all the time, like, they'll just like kind of push you away and just be like, figure it out. Like, that's like if somebody's asking, like if one of the team members are asking for help, I always try to help them as much as possible because I think learning is a virtue. And I feel like sometimes in other places that's kind of discouraged, and I feel like that's a bad thing.
Coming from Elijah Hudgins. Elijah, if I've learned anything from our conversation, number one, you're definitely a young person with a good head on your shoulders.
Thank you.
It sounds like you come from a family that taught you work ethic. You have a faith in God that I pray that you keep. If you ever need any help or anybody to lean on, you have a ton of people here. Of course, you have Jimmer, you have Szatkowskis, you have me now. And, you know, believing in God is, to me, it's how can I live my life, walk my steps, speak my words, if not being reverent of who gave me the opportunity to do that. So for all of you out there, beautiful example of faith, kindness, goodness, what's right and wrong about Star Wars. The link between us here on Wake Up Call and Dan Tortora. We look forward to talking with you soon. This has been The Light Between Us from Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay. Thanks, Elijah.
Thank you.
We'll talk with you soon. As always, God bless, no stress, do your best.